Alright, hi, what's up everybody? My name is Disco. Welcome to Art with Maniac and the Disco. I'm doing a continuation of this, and actually, man, I'm probably going to delete the last video I made concerning this topic because really, I really wasn't all there, and I really don't like the way it came out. So I'm going to make this video. I'll probably leave the other one up for a couple of days and just delete it because I did post a bunch of links to like social media and everything, and I might just delete it and do it again. I'm not sure, but we'll go from there. So this is what I have so far, and I guess I'll start from the beginning. Right now I'm reading a book by Kirk Packwood. It's on Memetic magic, and there is part of the chapter that does talk about shamanism and spirit animals, which is what I'm working on right here, but it also covers other things. And I actually wanted to I didn't define, there's a definition of what the Memetic magical system is, and what the root social matrix is. And so I'm going to give an explanation of what that is. The Memetic magical system uses words as symbols, meaning in magical systems, and this is from the book, in magical systems, words have power because of their symbolic representation of elements within the universe. It is defined in the chapter Root Social Matrix as, in Memetic magic, the word symbol matrix is defined as the geometrical or metaphysical shape within whose boundaries all elements of that particular matrix must reside. Shape is merely a convenient term allowing the reader the possibility of forming an abstract mental image of the matrix. Elements refer to the basic units contained within and out of which a matrix is constructed. In simple terms, a matrix is a totality including everything which it contains. What the root social matrix is the underlying conglomeration of the accumulated social and cultural influences of humanity. Now here the author goes on to describe other aspects of the social matrix, including root, meta, sub-social matrices, and cultural influence and things like that. But if you want to do a little more digging, I'll let you guys get into all that. And I'm just going to work on this. So this is the spirit animal that I'm working on. So since I'm going to delete the other video, I'll tell you what this is. Basically, what I've gotten from the book is that in shamanism, during meditations or different tantric states or altered states, shamans would encounter spirit animals, and then they would use this, like they would draw depictions of the spirit animals. And then, so whenever they wanted to enter into these tantric or meditative states or anything, transcendental states, it was easier to do so if they already had the spirit animal there. So that, so they can use the picture of the spirit animal in order to make that connection to the subconscious mind. And these spirit animals are guides to the underworld, which the underworld is explained as the subconscious mind, and which we all know that's how magic works. And so I did a meditation. It came up with a couple of things. This is the sigil I came up with. And the whole thing was a snake holding the sigil in its mouth. And this is the original. And I'm going to have the original right here. And this is the original snake that I drew. And I saw this in my mind's eye. And here's I was trying to work out this sigil, and I got the other stuff right here, Oh, and this is Luciferian symbol right here. It needs the V. Forgot that. And so yeah, I put all these together, as you can see, in this sigil, which I think it looks pretty dope. I like it. And that's the one I saw in my vision. And this actually was like a serpent made from light. So when I say light serpent, I think I said in the last video, I meant like a serpent made of light. So this is white right here, this line right here. But for the intents and purposes of this sigil, I'll go ahead and just use the black line indicating the serpent, since I already have a serpent in there. So I'm going to be using my brush today, and some inks and some pens and some brush pens and stuff. Hopefully I don't take too long. I already got 4 minutes in, or about 5 minutes in. All right, so with this one, man, I actually mixed some of the some dragon's blood ink with one of my colors, with one of the lighter blacks. So whenever I start using it, it's gonna have, there you go, see how it has that reddish hue. And what I do here also is I can wet it down with some water and get a lighter spread for blending and everything. I should have used that from the get, but whatever, I can fix it. It's not a big deal. I like the way this is looking, so I might just go with the whole serpent. Might just be all this hue, and I'm thinking about throwing some black in there as well. I really like the way the watercolor kind of effect looks with the inks. That's why I like using the ink mixed with water. That's kind of the same principle that watercolors are, but instead of inks, they use different types of pigments. All right. Dip, and then dip in the water. I know you guys can't see that, so maybe I'll do an example real quick of what exactly it is I'm doing. Oh, okay, so here's another thing, man. When I was working on the Hana Chicana drawing, I had a setback because whenever I was drawing it, man, I accidentally spilled one of my cups of ink. So what I had to do was figure out a way to prevent that. So I got this big sponge, bored out some holes, and that's where I carry the little cups of ink now. So this right here doesn't knock over so easily. So you can use that idea if you want to. Then I use the water cup here. I just go to Burger King next door and get some water. So I dip this in the ink. Let me put it right here so everybody so you can see. I dip this in the ink, kind of brush it off a little here, dip it in the water. You get an idea what's going on. Then I go to my side artboard right here area and see what the hue is. And then that's when I see that, then I go in, see what color it is. So if I do that exact same thing, I should get pretty much closer to the same color. And so that's what I'm doing here. Same tone. So that's what I'm doing outside of view. I'm sure this is in view. One of the other videos I made, man, I made this video already like 5 or 6 times, dude. Because something always kind of goes wrong. But I hadn't done one in a while, so I'm not trying to make excuses. I hate excuses. I hadn't done one in a while, and but I hadn't done one in a while, so I really kind of forgot my format. You know, I like to lay everything out, so the videos are informative as well as, you know, creative. And I totally just missed the mark on the last video. I would like to apologize to everyone who watched the video and was just totally let down. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't all there, man. You know, like, I don't tell my story a lot anymore. I used to when I first got out of the hospital. But last year, in the year of 2017, I spent most of that year in the hospital, pretty much the whole year, in and out of the hospital because I had liver problems. I developed cirrhosis. And that's when I started learning that we are responsible for our own things, and that really in this world, man, I know a lot of people will disagree, but when the shit hits the fan, you'll probably see that you're really all alone in this world. Like all your friends and family, when it comes down to it, at first they'll be there, but eventually they will make excuses to not be there. They'll become busy, you know. So I'm gonna go with just the black. That's a philosophy that I've kind of had my whole life, but it was just solidified extremely whenever I was in the hospital. Nobody was really there. And at first I used to feel bad for myself, but now I just don't give a fuck. I'm like, fuck them, man. They don't want to be there. That's fine. It's the way I see it, man. It just shows me where everybody's at, you know. So they save me heartache in the future. Really, I know I can't depend on them when the shit hits the fan. So that's totally cool. So I get no help from my family. I'm just basically on my own, even though they live like right around the corner. Not literally around, like they live in Round Rock and I live in Austin, and that's not very far at all. And you know, none of them made any effort to even contact me now. Well, my aunts have. They sent me birthday cards and stuff in the beginning, like how are you doing cards, proud of you cards, and all that kind of stuff. That looks like shit. Fuck, I didn't think this out very well. I need my paper towel for dabbing. All right, cool. And then go in with the fine tip pen and fix all that up. Let me see what this looks like. Okay, hold on. Let me see what this looks like by itself. So I can go in some darker tones. And again, like whenever you're working on this kind of stuff, you want to start light and then go darker. Or just layer it. I like to layer it. And sometimes if layering is going to take me forever, obviously not in a literal sense, then I'll kind of opt to do something different. As in, grab the brush and just dip it in some darker ink and have at it. Because here, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use this part right here to kind of highlight this part. And I'm going to add some designs on top of the red. So now I think I'm going to go and just turn all this gray. So I probably need a bigger brush for this because it's a lot of area to cover. See, this looks like a bigger brush because it is. And it's not really doing that much of a difference. Okay, there you go. You want less ink, dip less of your brush into the ink. That way it mixes and gets a lighter gray. And when you're doing also, if you have if you have waterproof ink, then you're gonna have to work on that in a different way. But if you do not have waterproof ink, the benefit of that is you can just get water, and the ink that's already there, you can spread that around. Mm-hmm. I got enough ink there to where I can start just using water. Just fucking boom. And I explained in an earlier video how to use pareidolia, and actually I use that sometimes. I believe that the mind, like your brain, the things that your brain does, like it recognizes images and things like that, that you wouldn't, it has this natural tendency to recognize certain images in random patterns. I think that's cool. So I actually utilize that in a lot of my art. When I'm drawing, if I'm lost or something, and I'm like, okay, what? I kind of sit back and let my brain find something in the pattern or whatever. And it actually just kind of liberates. Make sure I'm not spreading anything. It's liberating in a way because you're not restricted to just. It's not just like some plan because a lot of artists, even though it looks like we don't really have a plan when we go in. So part of art is like fixing your mistakes. You might go in with one plan and the piece could totally change, man. I think that's pretty good. Now go in with just the red. Now I'll dry this off. It's wet. I just do it like this. Got some wet spots right there. I'll dry off. Now just go in with the red ink. Kind of hit the edges right here. Maybe hit the eye. Now you want to watch your hand. Like I just fucked that up right there a little bit. So don't do that. Don't rest your hand in wet ink. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, and now with this, I think I'm not going to waste a bunch of time. I don't want to make these videos too long and go around fixing all this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video and just have like the updated version with the next video I make. Because like again, I'm making a series out of what I learned from this book. I can see, I mean, I'm barely on the very beginning of this book and there's already a lot of information. So hopefully that trend continues and I can learn a lot from just this one book and I'll cover everything. And then I'll move on to the next book. So if anybody has any suggestions of like artistic magic, anything like that, definitely hit me up, man. Let me know when I'll cover it. If it's a badass, I'll cover it, you know. So thanks a lot. Thanks for joining me. Disco Art with Maniac in the Disco. Take it easy.